At the end of the day, we're trying to score as many runs as possible. There are a few different paths to doing that. I think that the true middle of the order bat that can hit the ball out of the park, it has probably outsized impact on the rest of the lineup because of the way that you have to attack someone, the on-base implications it can have. And so, again, we're going to consider all ways of improving the team, but finding someone in the middle of the order who hits the ball out of the park is a really good place to start.
Well, it's Craig Breslow from the Winter Meetings, of course, talking about the Red Sox could be doing. And, well, I'm still waiting to find out. Why don't we bring in Tom Caron, Nesson's own Tom Caron, joining us from Orlando. Listen, Tom, all I've heard about is people's golf games and the hotel minibar. So what else are you hearing at the Winter Meetings right now, your first day there?
I can tell you breaking news. There were only 6 people in the Starbucks line this morning at the lobby bar. I was thinking about it when I was getting ready to come on with you guys. This is my 14th Winter Meetings.
Wow.
And, half of them have been great. Last year was great. We had Juan Soto on Sunday night, kind of broke everything. Max Fried went to the Yankees on Monday, and the Red Sox traded for Garrett Crochet on Tuesday.
Wow.
That's how you do the Winter Meetings. This year, it has been a slog. I mean, some years you come down here and nothing happens. And I don't know that a whole lot is going to happen other than things inching closer. I mean, we'll get through all this in a minute, but the whole Alonso's coming here idea, that's great. Okay, Alonso's going to be here. He's going to meet with teams. I'm here. He will meet with the Red Sox. That's not a big surprise. But if you're meeting with teams today, you're not signing with them today. You're driving home, you're talking to the family, you're showing. A week later, you're getting back. So I don't know. The logjam may not break until after we leave here.
Well, it's like back in high school, right? Like someone has to be the first to ask for the prom date. And then once that happens, the floodgates open and everybody has to go get a date because you got to scoop them up before nobody else is available, right? So who's going to be the first assigned to sort of break the dam and we can start to see some of these moves happen?
Well, we know it wasn't Mike Soroka, right? His deal did not break the logjam, the 1 year, $7 million. I asked Breslow that yesterday. I said, now can we get deals going with Soroka off the board? He's like, yeah, I don't think that's the one holding up anything. It's going to be Schwarber or Alonso, I think. I think those are the two big ones. And there's a lot of scuttle that Schwarber could be getting close. Now that the Pirates have offered a 4-year deal, which was kind of a jolt out of nowhere, the Pirates are leading offers now. I think he's going back to the Phillies. I don't think Dombrowski lets him get away. I really don't. And I think once that happens, then the market for Alonso gets really, really defined, right? You see what Schwarber gets, the teams that are left standing, and then you all dive in after. But I think it's going to be one of those two bats that really gets things going.
I mean, kudos to the Pirates, TC. They're in everybody. They're trying. I mean, I don't know if they get any of these people, TC, but good for them trying to bring someone and surround them with Skeens there. I want to ask about another start pitcher because I need to know if I'm playing fantasy baseball in my mind, TC, or if this is a real thing. I'm reading a quote as we speak from the Tigers president from yesterday there, Winter Meetings. There are no untouchables. I'm using air quotes because that's what he said, including Skubal. I hear that, and my mind immediately goes to Crochet and that monster as a 1-2 punch. And now you have a Sonny Gray as a third and so on and so forth. Is this possible, TC, or is this literally fantasy baseball and I'm dreaming? Can the Red Sox get involved with Skubal?
Absolutely. I mean, it is absolutely possible. I don't think there's a team right now that has more to give in a situation like that because you talk about a lot of teams that have depth and have farm systems and have prospects available. The Red Sox, remember 2 years ago, we talked a lot about, they can work a deal, but their best talent is single A moving to double A. Well, now your best young talent is already in the show, and a lot of it's in triple A. And all of a sudden, over the last 8 months, they have added a ton of pitching depth. So not only could you go get a Skubal, or if you wanted to pivot and go get Marte, if you want to go to the offensive side, whoever you're looking at, you can offer a Jaron Duran type of major league outfielder. You can offer you want to throw Tolle in if it's a case like Skubal. Like all of a sudden, you're offering a top pitching prospect, a major league ready outfielder. Like you could put together a package that could absolutely get Skubal, just like you did last year when you got Crochet, right? You swooped in and did that when you added Kyle Teal to the mix on the last night. They walked away the day before the deal was done. They walked away thinking there was no way they get a deal done. then they'll say, all right, what if we threw in Teal? What if we really start talking about the top prospects? Boom, a day later, Crochet's coming to the Red Sox. There's no reason on earth they couldn't do something like that if the Tigers were willing to trade Skubal.
Oh, thank you for making my dreams come true. So let's stay here for a second. Entertain me. Let's assume for the sake of combo with you and ITC, we re-sign Bregman. That's tabled. We're good. What's a priority in your opinion? Would it be a Skubal or would it be a Pete Alonso? I mean, listen. If they said, we're going to re-sign Bregman and you're going to get one of these fantasy baseball pieces, whether it's a Skubal or an Alonso, a bat or a pitcher, in your opinion, what would be the priority there if you could only get one, TC?
I think it's a bat. I do think it's a bat. Now that they've gone, and I know nobody wants to say that Sonny Gray or Johan Oviedo was the number 2 they were talking about getting, because they're not. They're number 3s. But if you get their upside, they could be a number 2. But I think you've addressed that major league rotation. You'd love to see him still add that number 2 guy to be the horse 1B next to Crochet. But you need the bat. You haven't had that aircraft carrier in the fleet since you got rid of Rafael Devers.
Right.
And you need to replace him. Alonso would be a great fit. Right-handed, can play first base. Not a great defender, but, you got to give up something if you're getting 40 home runs out of a guy, and he can do that all day long at Fenway. So I just think you've got to prioritize the bat because you've already addressed the pitching to an extent.
Well, Alonso's a guy that can certainly go 3-10 to left, right? A little, and hit it right over that. Right over that wall. Yes. Had to plug that one in there for you, Tom. But when a meeting happens, right? Reportedly, Alonso's going to meet with the Red Sox. Reportedly, because I've heard multiple things. What are you hearing? And what does a meeting entail? And does the fact that the Red Sox are meeting him early on, is that a good sign for the Red Sox?
They go on the Tron ride.
Yeah, you go to Epcot, have a beer at England, then you go have dinner at France. I asked Craig Breslow that yesterday at the end of the whole thing, because when Craig Breslow was a pitcher, I've been doing this long enough, I remember Craig Breslow coming to the winter meetings. And it was a different situation. Like he said, not nearly as many teams lined up to talk to me, Craig Breslow, as they're going to line up to talk to Alonso. But there is something to a face-to-face meeting. You sit down, you bring in guys from baseball ops, you start talking about maybe you bring the travel secretary over to talk about how they take care of the family. Like, you give the full sales pitch. You can do that on a Zoom, but it's not the same. It's just not. You get that guy and you get the vibes and you see if you're meshing personality-wise, and you hope that in addition to all the zeros you throw at the end of the offer, that he also comes away with this warm, fuzzy feeling, right? You go back to Theo Epstein flying to Arizona to have Thanksgiving with the Schillings, and that's how they got Kurt Schilling to come to Boston. Those personal meetings really do matter. Now, he's a Scott Boras guy. Okay, so you're not gonna save $50 million by saying sweet nothings into his ear over a boardroom table. It's Scott Boras. He's going to want a lot of money. He's going to want a lot of years. But assuming you're ready to give him that, the personal touch means something.
Well, and while we're talking about Boras guys, Bregman. You mentioned Alex Bregman before, obviously, Trav, and I do think, like you said, let's just table it. Let's assume they get that done. I think there are a lot of people that are kind of just assuming that maybe we're not hearing a lot about Alex Bregman's market, therefore he'll be back in Boston. I don't think that's a safe assumption at all. Now, would love him back for any number of reasons, clubhouse and on the field, all of these things, championship experience, but there does come a point where an overpay exists. Now, I don't know that he's demanding that. Maybe he's just feeling things out and ultimately will come back. But he was here for 1 year.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't a guy that has this whole long track record of love and time in Boston. How do you kind of handicap this situation in terms of his future?
I think you touched it at the beginning. I think it's about the market for him. What is the market for him? And I think what the Tigers do with Skubal will mean a lot to what the market is for Bregman, because they're the big ones, right? We heard it last year. Thought he was going to Detroit until the last-minute deal came together with the Red Sox. A.J. Hinch was with him in Houston and would love to have him back in Detroit. But if Detroit's trading away Skubal and doing any kind of rebuild, if you're Alex Bregman, you're not going there.
That's right.
Right? Like, you're not going to think about them as a serious contender. He's only got so many seasons left. We don't know what's going to happen next year with the CBA, potentially losing some games there. Like, you want to be somewhere where you got a chance to win. Houston, if they wanted him back, that would be a possibility. Obviously, we've heard the Cubs, but those are the kind of places. There aren't a lot of those places. And you talk about an overpay. He got the overpay last year for the short term. He got the opt-out. He exercised it. My concern with this whole situation is that it's going to play out the way it did last year. And we're going to hit February waiting to see where he goes. If you're the Red Sox, I don't know that you can wait that long. By then, you may have had to make another move, and that may close the door on Bregman coming back.
Just 2 more months of talking about Bregman.
No, I don't think so. I'm with TC.
But it's every year, isn't it?
Yes.
I said this with Merlone yesterday. It was Jordan Montgomery a couple years ago.
Yes.
It was Bregman last year. There seems to be a guy. It was J.D. Martinez a few years back.
Yes.
There's always a guy that we're sending Christmas, New Year's, into January. Like, where is this guy going to go? And are you missing other opportunities because you think you're getting that guy? I don't think Breslow's going to operate that way. I really don't. Not this year. I think if that drags on too long, there's a couple Japanese corner infielders that are going to be up there on January 4th. There's other ways to go, and I just don't think you can wait all winter for anybody.
That was my follow-up to you was, is that a strategy from the Red Sox to not mess around with that this season? I mean, we were in spring training, for God's sakes, when you got this stuff done. So I agree, TC. At this point, be aggressive. Try to get these guys into the fold. By the way, we should talk about this. You're at a different place this offseason than you were last offseason. Now, they kicked butt last offseason, TC. I mean, obviously, Crochet, Chapman, Bregman, those are 3 All-Stars you got last offseason. But now there are expectations. You made the postseason. People are saying you're a piece or 2 away from a World Series. I almost think that pressure, it's a Red Sox, so there's always pressure, but that pressure adds to not messing around and waiting too long. They have to be aggressive with these guys up front. It sounds like you agree with that, TC, yes?
Yeah, I do. I'll say this. I don't know that we give Craig Breslow enough credit for what he has done in these off seasons. He's done really well. Last year, you didn't mention Carlos Narvaez, a trade that we're like, winds up being one of the best young catchers in the game.
That's right.
Chapman, when they signed him, everybody kind of shrugged and said, okay, we'll see what he's got left. Well, he's got a lot left. We know that now. And they get him redone. So he's killed the off seasons. The trade deadline's been another story, okay? I think that's where he's still got to prove that he can make an impact deal to bolster a team. Didn't do it either of the last 2 seasons. But he's been good in the winter. I don't know if we're quite in Craig we trust territory yet, but, he's proven himself as a guy who can be decisive and can make deals. You said it all, right? Crochet and Bregman and Chapman and Narvaez, that's a heck of an offseason, okay? If you can do it now I'm talking to a lot of people yesterday, talking to Ollie Marmol, who's the Cardinals manager, who had Gray last year. He said Sonny Gray is going to be really good in Boston. He really believes that. Talking to the Pirates people about Oviedo, they think in 2023, on a staff that's got studs, they thought he was going to be a middle-of-the-rotation guy before Tommy John. So he's made a couple of nice moves. If he made those moves here at the meetings, we'd be talking about how exciting it is. But he got them done early. That's old news. Now you got to move on. Got to get the bat, though. To go full circle, you've done some pitching work. The next important step for this team is a middle-of-the-lineup 30-40 home run bat. They got to add it.
Feels like Pete Alonso, guys.
Oh, it does. We're talking with Tom Caron. He is from the Winter Meetings right now, live, joining us here. Tom, you were around the team a lot for the last few years, and I just wanted to bring up Ketel Marte. I don't know much. I know the guy's an all-star. I know he wasn't a part of the all-star game last year. I don't know much else about him, but there's a really good vibe with the team, right? Is it something to be wary about with a guy like him who might have had some maybe off-field stuff or maybe teammates weren't interested? How important is the vibe in bringing certain people in? And, of course, the Diamondbacks have discussed a deal, and looks like the Red Sox may have spoke, but nothing's close. Just can you talk about the vibe and maybe adding some of these players into the mix?
Yeah, and that's a good point on Marte, because there was that issue last year. He took 3 games off. His house had been burglarized, and he just he used the word frustrated. Team rallied around him. Nobody hung him out to dry, but he went home, basically, left for 3 days. Now, they won those 3 games, which was interesting. And then he came back, and I think they lost 8 out of 9 or 9 out of 10 after that, and the season got away from there. But this is a team that had been to the World Series a couple years ago, and they're trending in the other direction. You trade Marte, and that's the kind of trade that can reboot a franchise. If you're the Red Sox, he's a switch hitter, so you got him in the lineup every day. You don't care lefty, righty. You can plop him right in there. Good defender. Can play a couple of different infield positions, probably third base, right? So I think if you traded for Marte, you're probably closing the door on Bregman. But you've got control. He's got 5 years plus a player option. A lot of it's deferred. So it's a really team-friendly deal. You'd have to give up a lot to get him, and the word is Arizona is holding out for a lot. But again, I said it before, you've got a lot. I mean, when you start talking about tiers, right? You want to play tiers? You got that whole group of Tolley and Dobbins and Early.
Yep.
Cutter Crawford coming back, who's still got his best years ahead of him, I think. You've got some pitching depth to trade. You've got an outfielder to trade. There's a lot of ways you can go and put this thing together and get a guy like Marte, and that would solidify your lineup for a long time to come. He's averaged 30 home runs each of the last 3 years. This is a guy who hits, and he hits for power. He's got a high average, got high home run totals. Be a really good fit on any lineup.
Okay, Adam, both TC and Lou are sold on this kid, so I'm sold. That's all I need to hear.
That's all you need.
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be great to see him, obviously, and as Lou talked about, one of the best second basemen, obviously, all-around second baseman in all of baseball. Bo Bichette, though, is another interesting story, and you have to consider all things when it comes to Bichette because it's not like he'd be leaving a bad team. The Blue Jays hang on to win the East, advance all the way to the World Series, should have beaten the Dodgers in that series, and now Bichette is not at the winter meetings, but shopping himself around, reportedly had a Zoom meeting with the Red Sox. So how are we feeling about the potential of not only him leaving Toronto in the first place, and that's a team still going for it, gave Dylan Cease the bag, all that, but potentially winding up with Boston?
Yeah, I think it's a real possibility because it sounds more and more like right now the Blue Jays are looking at Kyle Tucker. That's what everybody up in Toronto's telling me. And if that's where they're going, then Bichette is available. Bichette be a great fit here. Everything I said about Marte, as far as a fit and what he does, not quite the power, but this guy who twice led the American League in hits, was on pace to lead all Major League Baseball in hits last year before the injury. Leader, veteran, has been through it, has playoff experience now, deep run. I think he'd be an easy fit, and you don't have to give away any of your prospect talent, right? So now you're talking about you got to pay the money. But if you just got him on a free agent deal, now you can use some of that depth maybe to go get that pitcher, right? Maybe you go get that number 2. Doesn't sound like it's going to be Joe Ryan. Okay, I don't know. They're trading him. Fox says we had him at the deadline. It never happened. Now Minnesota says he's not dealing, and then Rob Bradford says, well, the Red Sox have backed off. Yeah, if Minnesota's not dealing him, you better back off. But point is, sign Bichette. If you do that, then you've got the prospect capital to turn around and trade for a pitcher. Now all of a sudden, you've addressed a couple of things. But I love Bichette. There's no doubt he would be a great fit here.
Don't forget, Dad Dante played here.
That's right.
That's right.
He had the great bat flip.
So this is how old I am. I remember having a conversation with Dante Bichette when he was with the Red Sox, and Bichette was talking about his little kid and how he just hopes he loves playing baseball. Well, I think he did the job. I think
It's worked out
well.
He's a good baseball dad, and Bo loves to play, no doubt about that.
Tom, Caron, great job. Thank you for joining us from the winter meetings, and I want a scoop on that hotel breakfast spread. I really want to know.
The overnight oats are overrated, all right? Just get the sandwich with the greasy egg. Treat yourself.
Thank you, Tom, Caron, everybody.